Welcome to Garden Plants with Jim Putnam. Let's talk October Magic White Shi-Shi Camellia. October Magic White Shi-Shi Camellia sasanqua is in the Southern Living Plant Collection. This selection was selected because it is a dwarf weeping variety. It's a cousin to pink Shi-Shi, but this one is more of a true dwarf. I've seen pink Shi-Shi get quite large over a long period of time. This one has a really nice weeping habit that's going to allow it to be kept between 3 to 4 feet in height and 3 to 4 feet in width very easily. You can see how the branches are going out wider. Got another Camellia sasanqua behind me here with very vertical branching on it, so you can see the growth habit, you know, how it's going to be. This one will be, again, it'll creep up above 3 to 4 feet and by 3 to 4 feet over a long period of time, but going to be really easy to keep this one compact in the landscape. This evergreen dwarf shrub with the beautiful dark green shiny foliage really doesn't need to bloom, but here we are in the middle of December and it's really showing off with these beautiful, almost formal double white flowers. Just comes into absolute full flower here in the late fall. Most everything else in your landscape will have probably quit on you at this point, gone completely to sleep right at the moment where this is showing off. It buds up during the summertime, and then the flowers will start opening on cooler nights in October, November, and then by December, here we are in caught a couple warm days in a row, and it was, absolutely exploded. Camellias are hardy in zone 7 to 9, and placement of this plant is kind of important. Camellias are kind of part shade loving plants, okay? So I wouldn't put them in the deep shade. They end up a little bit thinner. They don't have quite as many flowers on them. And you definitely don't want to put it in the full sun either, because these leaves will get scorched during the summertime. So where I have this one, it's getting about a half a day sun, half a day shade. That's kind of ideal. So let's talk about some uses for this dwarf Camellia sasanqua. These are extremely drought tolerant, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. So if you had a bank or a slope in a part shade area, that would be a great placement for it. They can be mass planted in any part shade area as a specimen, just like I have it here. Super showy in the background of some other things that go to sleep, so it just kind of comes to life in the winter time. Because this one only gets about 3 to 4 feet in height, or can be maintained 3 to 4 feet in height by 3 to 4 feet in width, make an ideal foundation plant if you have lower windows. So just a lot of uses for this one. If you were going to use it as a container plant, you'd probably only want to do that in zone like 8B and 9. If as a container plant in zone 7, the roots being exposed could lead to some damage on it. So container planted in zone 8 and 9 only. Camellias prefer a well-drained soil. I have heavy clay soil in my area, so I do mound them up a little bit. If you do have clay soils and sandier soils, probably doesn't matter as much. These are incredibly drought tolerant. Once they're established, you'll have to do some watering on them after you get them planted for the first year for sure. Once they're established, again, they don't need a whole lot. If it's abnormally dry though, for some period of time during the summer when it's forming its flower buds, I don't think you'll get as many flowers if you just let it sit in those conditions. So during dry periods, your established camellias probably should be watered, and you can drag a water hose over to it, kind of drown the area around it, and then leave it alone, let it dry out between those times. Pruning can be done in the late winter, early spring only. If you prune this in the summer or late summer, you would definitely be removing flower buds. Can be fertilized at that same time with an organic fertilizer. Keep it well mulched, keep the weeds away from it, and just a really super low maintenance plant. The only real pest issue we see on Camellia sasanquas is T-scale. Camellias are in the T family, and occasionally on the backs of the leaves we'll get these little white specks. One thing I will say is one out here in open space like this is less likely to have T-scale issues. If you tuck one up against the house, I talked about it being a foundation plant, but I would have it out from the house a bit so air can move around it. A little bit of T-scale on a healthy plant is just not that big of a deal. Just don't worry about it. If it starts to get out of control, I would question whether or not the plant is actually in a good, healthy condition. Maybe it needs more water, mulched better, weeded around it, get it back in better shape, and it can fight off those scale issues. October Magic White Shi-Shi Camellia from the Southern Living Plant Collection. I love this plant.